Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. The state and federal governments have been urged to secure the Antarctic Division's future with more than 1,000 jobs at risk. Tasport's proposed 1,300% hike in berthing fees, drawing the ire of Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek, who's asked Premier Rockcliffe to intervene.
Along the Antarctic Gateway, Tasmania is at risk of being frozen out.
When will you finally take control to prevent this critical sector from being lost to our economy?
We're all starting to wonder what Minister Plibersek has against Tasmania.
Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek has asked Jeremy Rockcliffe to intervene in negotiations for the RSV Noyina to continue docking at Macquarie Point, calling Tasport's proposed 1,300% price rise unacceptable. I remain committed to Hobart remaining the gateway to the Antarctic, but it appears that Tasmanian government agencies are determined to stand in the way of securing this development. Tasport's blaming the delays on the Antarctic Division's readiness to sign on and the cost of the required redevelopment.
The misleading comparison of the commercial arrangement that is in place today with the costing of the bespoke requirements directed by AAD are unhelpful to everyone.
It's the latest chapter in an increasingly cold relationship between the AAD and Tasports, following the Noyina being banned from passing under the Tasman Bridge and persistent rumours about a shift to Fremantle.
They talk about a commitment to Hobart being the gateway for the Antarctic, but when it comes to actually locking things down, there is no commitment to doing so.
Tasmanian government, do your job. Have ports that work. When things need repair, fix them. You know, have a better set of priorities.
The glacial pace of negotiations here could have dire consequences.
There's over 1,000 jobs that are reliant upon us having that status and us being the home of the Noyina and being able to be the gateway to Antarctica.
A gateway which could be closing. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
As cost of living continues to bite, a growing number of Tasmanians are finding themselves on the brink of financial distress. A statewide report reveals just how dire the situation is and how in demand support services are.
Like many, Susie spends a lot of time looking at ways to cut everyday costs, even putting off seeing a doctor and pushing back car appointments in order to save a buck.
Just like having a pretty clear budget and having different bank accounts and trying to think more about that kind of stuff than I've ever had to before.
Feeling like her dream of owning her own home is slowly slipping out of reach.
I just kind of assumed that that was something that would happen, and as I've gotten older, I've realised that's potentially not in the cards for me and not in the cards for me for a very long time.
A recent statewide survey by My State Bank and Colony 47 reveals that Susie is not alone.
Compared to last year, 60% of Tasmanians are feeling less well off, and that's a real impact, and that's impacting what they're thinking about, how they're feeling.
When we asked them, are you able to find $500 for an unexpected bill, more than half of Tasmanians were telling us that they couldn't find that money.
With many being forced to slash costs where they can.
They're choosing to spend a bit less. They're spending less on things like takeaway food, eating out. They're spending a bit less on travel.
According to the survey, young people, women and renters have been hit the hardest, increasing unprecedented demand for support services.
People are coming to us for some rental assistance because they can't afford to cover the rent that week.
A renter herself, Susie is unable to see light at the end of the tunnel.
I see it as being a long-term issue. Not entirely sure what needs to be done.
Lily Thompson, 7 Tasmania News.
A Berrydale man has been charged after a police raid allegedly uncovered hundreds of video and images of serious online child abuse material. A joint task force made up of federal officers and Tasmania Police received a tip-off from American authorities. The 23-year-old is accused of uploading and distributing the material on social media. He faced Hobart Magistrates Court today and will return in September. Hobart's waterfront is looking like the place to be this evening as the much-loved winter feast gets underway. Our reporter Rebecca Gaitaneris is at the event, and Beck, I suspect there's a good turnout there.
Kim, cold temperatures haven't seemed to put off the crowds. A steady stream is coming in from 4 o'clock this afternoon. Thousands are expected to travel far and wide for a chance to sit by many fires or make their way into the large dining hall where they will be spoiled for choice. There are 80 stalls on offer, both inside and outside. 25 of those are new, meaning there's something for everyone to enjoy. Organisers have been putting this together for more than a decade now and have got it down to a fine craft. It's a true showcase of some of the very best Tassie has to offer. Now, I've worked up quite a bit of an appetite, so I think I'll head inside to grab a bite to eat. Kim?
You should do that and stay warm. Thanks, Beck. Further indiscretions by a controversial harness racing figure have been revealed. Robbie Walters has been slapped with a $2,000 fine after admitting to falsifying documents.
Mr Walters forged the signature of a landowner and presented it to Ori as evidence to support his application to train horses here in Tasmania.
There has been outcry over the Director of Racing granting Mr Walters permission to train horses despite a pending drug investigation, prompting Racing Minister Jane Howlett to ask the Director to reconsider.
He advised me that Mr Walters would not be eligible to participate in upcoming harness meetings scheduled for the 14th of June and the 16th of June.
Robert Walters was contacted for comment. A new report has found workers are losing up to $21,000 a year in unpaid overtime. It's led to a call from Tasmanian unions for employees to put their health and well-being first.
Extra work without the reward. A new study from Unions New South Wales showing 86% of Australians are putting in overtime unpaid. A trend Tasmania's peak union body is concerned about.
If an employer can get more than they're paying for out of a worker, they'll try, and they shouldn't.
Data shows we're spending an average of 1.5 hours extra in the office each day, with some working through lunch breaks and on weekends, adding up to over $20,000 a year worth of unpaid work.
Every hour that you work unpaid for an employer is an hour that you're not spending with family.
The education sector no stranger to the issue. On average, Tasmania's teachers and support staff work 10.5 hours more each week, according to a recent AEU survey.
We have seen over the past 5 to 10 years a real increase on administrative work that teachers are required to do.
Other unions describing the situation as a plague.
Our members, specifically in private sector workplaces, clerical and administrative jobs and the legal sector, have been working significant amounts of unpaid overtime for far too long.
In some of the consulting type roles, people are expected to do 38 hours, billable hours, even though they're on a 37.5 hour week.
Urging more Tasmanians to take a break for their physical and mental well-being. Mark Zita, 7 Tasmania News.
Surf Lifesaving Tasmania has received a major boost thanks to a $200,000 grant from the Tasmanian Air Rescue Trust. The cash splash hoping to help bolster the group's capabilities.
There's three key areas the funding will go into: of flood rescue boats, trailers, the PPE, the personal protection equipment and rescue equipment.
They run a very vital program for flood and water protection, and we're hoping that this funding will assist them in that endeavour.
The support coming at a crucial time with specialised Tasmanian skills in demand interstate. A brand new fleet of SES vehicles will bolster rescue capabilities for our first responders and volunteers with a $3 million upgrade from the state government. The fleet of 5 rapid intervention vehicles is expected to hit Tasmanian roads soon.
These vehicles that you see here today are absolutely central to supporting and enabling our paramedics to get access to patients during road crash rescue. It's a rapid intervention vehicle and it will save lives across the state.
This rollout, the beginning of the government's plan to add more than 30 vehicles to the SES fleet in the coming years. The University of Tasmania is celebrating after being named one of the world's most impactful institutions. More than 2,000 universities from 125 countries were assessed against the United Nations sustainability goals, with UTAS ranking second overall.
We have had a sustainability-focused effort for over a decade now, and we really have decided that this is something this university can do well and actually have a really positive impact, not just in Tasmania, but more globally.
The uni also topping the table for action against climate change for a third consecutive year. Terrapin is getting ready to hit the road. The curtains for the theatre company's latest show, Feathers, are about to open and entertain thousands of students next week. The production will also tour some of the state's most regional areas for the first time, including Flinders and King Island.
A final flap before this show takes flight across the state. Terrapin putting the finishing touches on its latest offering.
So Feathers is about a young ferret who is a little bit different to other feathers, and his mission is to try and find out a little bit more about himself and to find his flock.
Set to delight more than 14,000 Tasmanian primary school students, including those in the most regional and remote parts of the state.
We will be heading as far as King Island, Flinders Island, Wilmot, Bicheno.
The first of 95 shows across the island taking centre stage next week.
And getting to brighten their day and share a really exciting, vibrant, fun, colourful, visceral story with them is really, really fun.
Hoping to take kids on a journey and stimulate their imagination.
Always delightful to be like, I can't believe that's all coming from one person. All the different characters, yeah, it's a good response.
With adventure, humour and discovery at the show's core, also woven with key themes.
So this work really looks at resilience, authenticity, being yourself and being strong in who you are.
Terrapin's graced the stage across 180 schools over the past 15 years, entertaining 15,000 children annually. The group still manages to keep things fresh after more than 4 decades in showbiz.
You find other layers, new meanings, that in itself keeps it fresh and interesting.
Terrapin will flock across the state until November. Rebecca Gaideners, 7 Tasmania News.
An Australian first pilot program supporting veterans' wellbeing is being trialled in Tasmania. The Open Arms Service has been funded to run small group sessions with ex-servicemen and women.
They can normalise their experiences, they can draw support from each other, and they can look up to the lived experience peer who's delivering the work and go, I want to be like that.
This is a great opportunity to see how this program can work in this environment, to see if it will have benefit also across the Australian veteran community.
The service also includes a program for families to tackle intergenerational trauma. More than 90 individual art and cultural pieces will go on show in Hobart's Town Hall as part of International Refugee Week, the exhibition showcasing the talent and cultural expressions from those who now call Tasmania home.
This is not about professional artwork, this is about people having the space and the freedom and creativity to express themselves.
It's so great to able to learn the history and the artists, the way they express themselves.
It's open to the public over the next 2 days.
If the Northern Bombers are to have their undefeated TSL run halted, this could be the week. Facing the Clarence Roos, who are in terrifying form, having not lost a game since the last time they faced North Launceston back in round 5. The Roos also get back Josh Green and Noah Holmes, who were absent from last round's demolition of the reigning premiers after kicking 3 goals apiece.
Statistical numbers are very similar in many ways, and their style of play is very distinct to what they need to do, and we'll have to be really strong with our defensive actions on the weekend to ensure that we get the game on our terms and can set it up like we did last time.
Glenorchy can see glimmers of hope in their struggle for form, preparing to face the Tigers.
The growth is that we're continuing to stay in the game. We're playing, probably on the weekend we played 3 quarters of footy. The next step is to continue to play that consistent footy, 4 quarters of footy, and push these teams right to the end.
Might not be this year's All-Stars winners, but Southern player Brianna Barwick is series MVP, booting 2 goals and averaging 27 disposals a game.
Great series to be a part of. I loved the competitiveness and the close, tight battle, and that's really what you want in one of these series.
Brianna, who's also Glenorchy's women's coach, waltzed home with the award, taking 11 of a possible 12 votes. There's a second Olympic spot on the line for Hobart's Max Giuliani tonight in the 100-metre free, while Ariarne Titmus continues to shine. As we saw earlier, the two-time Olympic gold medalist set a new world record in the 200 freestyle, beating former world record holder Molly O'Callaghan.
I think just the field that we have is why we're swimming so fast. We push each other every day.
Elijah Whittington claimed both the 400 and 800 free, while Cam McAvoy will become the first Australian man to swim at 4 Olympic Games after winning the 50 free. And only 8 months after giving birth to her first child, Emily Seebohm today advanced to the 200-metre backstroke final. To the cricket now, and we thought Riley Meredith's 4 for 12 was good yesterday, but fellow Tasmanian Heather Graham has said, hold my hat. The Hurricane taking 4 wickets for 10 on her debut for the Blaze in the UK's Charlotte Edwards Cup, returning to wrap things up with a boundary to complete the run chase in just 14 overs. And the Hurricanes have nabbed first pick in the WBBL draft at last night's lottery, and head of high performance Sally Ann Beams certainly wasn't trying to keep a poker face. It means the Canes will get first dibs on international players at September's draft. Tassie basketballer Alana Smith had another big showing in the WNBA, high scoring for Minnesota Lynx in their 14-point win over Las Vegas, shooting 18 points and landing 4 free throws from 6 shots. And the Jackies will have a chance to get their hands on more silverware before the new NBL season. Invited to compete for the FIBA Intercontinental Cup in Singapore in September. They'll be the first team from Oceania to play in the tournament, which is made up of winners from other comps around the world, including the Champions League and Champions League Europe and the NBA G League. It'll be interesting to see how they go against some of the world's best, Kim.
Yeah, great opportunity. Thanks, Nick. Well, Murph will join us after the break with a weather forecast.
Good evening, Hobart, St Helens and Flinders Island, all on our top of 13 today. 12 the high for Launceston, Devonport and Burnie. Fingal sunk to our low of -4, and even though it might have felt cold, temperatures were fairly close to average during the day. King Island, Friendly Beaches, Grove and Ooze all 12, Lowhead 11, Strawn 10, Lyawini a top of 4. Some high cloud over the north and west today, but very little shower activity the result of all that. Most of northern Australia remains cloud-free as high cloud moved from Western Australia over the central and southeast of the nation. Tomorrow, a high to our southwest extends a ridge over the state, a low lies west of Adelaide. Mostly southeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots, a little stronger over northern waters tomorrow. Forecast for Hobart's 11 and cloudy, 11 and a shower for Huonville, cloudy for Campania, also 11 degrees the maximum. Launceston 12 after 1 overnight, 12 also for Devonport, a sunny afternoon, sunny for Georgetown 13 the maximum. Burnie expecting 12 and partly cloudy weather, Strawn the same and 13 the high for Wynyard. For St Helens tomorrow, it's 12 and cloudy. Swansea cloudy as well and 12 degrees for Port Arthur. And a fine start to the weekend. Morning frost for those that are used to it and maybe just a shower over the south and east, a light one at that. A similar pattern into Sunday with temperatures on or just below average, and on Monday a few showers over the west, central and south. Sunny and 20 in Perth tomorrow, rain on the way for Adelaide, a cool cloudy day for Melbourne, 13 the top in Canberra, showers for Sydney and finer mostly sunny in Brisbane. Mostly cloudy and 9 degrees in Hobart. It's 7 in Launceston right now and 6 in Devonport. Winter Feast is attracting me, Kim. I like the look of the menu. Korean barbecue for me tonight.
Does sound good. Thank you, Murph. That is all your news for now. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everyone.